report. We are picking up with Chapter 7 in our book, Dragon Masters Chill of the Ice Dragon. Inside the Ice Fortress, Chapter 7. In the morning, Griffith met the Dragon Masters in the Dragon Caves. He gave them each a warm, furry coat. "I used magic to make these," he said. "It is cold in the far north lands. You will need the extra layer." Then the Dragon Masters saddled their dragons. Everyone touched Worm. Rory, Bo, Anna, and Petra kept one hand on their dragons. "I must stay here to watch over the castle," Griffith said. "Be strong, all of you. Work together, and you will not fail." Drake nodded. "We will," he promised. Then he looked at Worm. "Worm, take us to Mina's fortress in the far north lands." Drake's stomach flip-flopped as Worm transported them. Suddenly, he felt a blast of cold air on his face. They had arrived in the far north lands. Snow covered the ground as far as they could see. A glittering fortress rose above them. It looked like it was made of ice. Rory, Bo, Anna, and Petra climbed onto their dragons. "The fortress is underneath all that ice," Mina said. "We must melt the ice so we can enter." Petra shivered. "It is so cold here," she said, holding her hands to her chest. "Don't worry," Rory said. "Vulcan's about to warm things up. Vulcan, get us inside." Vulcan stomped up to the fortress's big front door. Whoosh! He shot out a fireball. The ice melted, revealing a wood door behind it. Vulcan's fire was so hot it burned a hole right through the door. Rory grinned at Mina. "See how easy that was," she said. "Vulcan and I can handle your ice giant." The fire dragon pushed open the door with his head, and everyone followed Rory and Vulcan inside. They stepped into a great hall. Drake looked around. His eyes were wide. There were people in the room, but they were in blocks of ice. He saw a king and queen on a throne. A wizard was frozen with her arm raised like she was about to do some magic. The Dragon Masters climbed off of their dragons and walked around, looking at the frozen people. "Where is the ice giant?" Bo asked. "I do not see him," Mina replied. "Great, let's melt everybody and get out of here," Rory said. "Vulcan." "No," Mina yelled. "You cannot melt these people with fire. It could burn them, just like it burned through that door." Rory frowned. "I think Kepri's sunlight can safely melt the ice," Anna suggested. Mina nodded. "Yes, try that. Please start with Hulda," she said, pointing to the wizard. "We may need her to help battle Vasti." Kepri flew over to Hulda and aimed a beam of sunlight at the block of ice surrounding her. The ice slowly began to melt. Drake looked over at Mina. Her eyes were scanning the fortress. "It is too quiet," she said. "Vasti must be planning something." "Maybe he left," Drake suggested. Roar! A dragon swooped down the big staircase in the center of the hall. His shimmering scales had a light blue sheen, just like ice on a pond, Drake thought. "Frost!" Mina yelled. Chapter 8. Frost's Deep Freeze. Frost ignored Mina. The ice dragon opened his mouth and aimed a blast of freezing, sparkling air at Rory and Vulcan. "Vulcan, stop him!" Rory yelled. Vulcan charged at Frost, getting ready to hit him with a fireball. But the freezing air hit Vulcan first. It trapped the fire dragon in a block of ice. "Frost, what are you doing?" Mina yelled at her dragon. "Why won't you listen to me?" The dragon swung his head around to face her. Drake noticed a crystal hanging from a chain around the dragon's neck. The crystal gleamed with an eerie blue light. Mina saw it too. She turned to the others. "That crystal is filled with Vasti's magic," she said. "He's controlling Frost." "We must get the crystal off of him," Bo said. Shoo, blast that crystal off of his neck. Bo's dragon shot a powerful stream of water at Frost, but before it could reach him, the ice dragon hit it with his freezing breath. It turned the water stream into ice. Then the ice shattered like glass. Pieces shattered across the floor. Whoosh! Frost aimed another freezing blast at Shoo, trapping her in a block of ice. Shoo, no! Bo cried. Petra marched forward. Everyone stand back, she said. Zira, use your poison mist to melt that crystal. The Hydra aimed all 4 of her heads at Frost. She shot the green poison mist from each mouth. It floated toward Frost. Frost hit the mist with a freezing blast. Each poison droplet turned into a green snowflake and fell to the floor. Then the blast hit Zira. She was trapped in a block of ice. Zira! Petra yelled. Drake felt nervous. Kepri's sunlight powers might work against Frost, but she is busy defrosting the wizard. It's all up to Worm. Worm, can you get the crystal from Frost? Drake asked. Worm began to glow green. He closed his eyes. The eerie blue glow in the crystal slowly faded. The ice dragon looked at Mina. Worm is using his powers to break the connection that Frost has with the giant, Drake said. Mina looked down at her dragonstone. It was faintly glowing green. Frost, we're connecting, she cried happily. As she ran toward her dragon, a loud sound rocked the great hall. The floor shook. Thump, thump, thump. The dragon masters all looked in the direction of the sound. Kepri stopped melting Hulda and turned her head. A giant, twice as tall as any of the dragons, stomped into the great hall. He had a big, bushy white beard. His eyes glittered like blue jewels. White fur trimmed his clothing and boots, and he held a long staff topped off with a glowing ice blue crystal. Mina pulled out her axe. It's Vasty, she yelled. Frost, stop him! Well, we will pick up with chapter 9 tomorrow.